My stepdad gave me a clock for my 18th birthday, then I found a hidden camera and ran, thinking he was a creep. But the truth was even worse. I'm 18 and currently living with my mom and my stepdad, Joshua. My mom married him just 6 months ago, not long after a terrible split from my dad. I won't get into every messy detail, but basically, my dad cheated, got caught red-handed, and things completely fell apart. It was ugly, and after all that, neither my mom nor I speak to him anymore. Now, about Joshua. He's actually been around for most of my life. He and my mom were close friends for as long as I can remember. I never realized he had feelings for her, and I honestly don't think anything romantic happened between them before the divorce. Growing up, I used to call him Uncle Josh and would hang out at his dental office all the time. Yep, he's a dentist. So when he suddenly became my stepdad, it took a little time to adjust, but he was always kind to me, and more importantly, he made my mom smile again, so I figured, why not give him a chance? I'm laying all this out because I want you to understand that I've known Josh for years. He's been a constant in my life, not some stranger. Anyway, fast forward to what happened yesterday, my birthday. I'm usually not big on birthdays. I went to school like normal, then grabbed dinner with some friends. It was a chill day, and I wasn't expecting anything major. But when I got home, I walked into a total surprise. My mom and Josh had actually planned a little party for me. And here's the kicker, my mom is absolutely terrible at keeping secrets, so I had no clue it was coming. As I walked in, they yelled surprise, my mom, Josh, Aunt Kathy, and my younger cousins were all there. It was sweet. We had cake, did the whole birthday song thing, and everyone seemed genuinely happy. My mom even made all my favorite dishes, and dinner was amazing. Then came the gift-giving part, which is when things took a serious left turn. I started with the presents from my aunt and cousins, pretty normal stuff. Then it was time for the gift from my mom and Josh. They gave me concert tickets to see one of my favorite bands, and I just about lost it. I'd been working at a diner part-time and saving forever to buy those tickets myself, so getting them as a gift? Best birthday surprise ever. My aunt and cousins left a little while after that, and I headed up to my room to tell my best friend, Amy, about the tickets. I was already curled up in bed when there was a knock on my door. It was Josh. He told me there was still one more present left. I didn't think anything could top the concert tickets, but I was curious. He went into his room and came back holding this big box. I was hyped, ripped into the wrapping right away, and found a clock. A wall clock. Pink with little strawberries on it. It was cute, sure. Definitely my style. My whole room is pink and covered in strawberry-themed stuff, but after those concert tickets, it felt a bit anticlimactic. Still, I thanked him. It was thoughtful, and I appreciated that he'd noticed my taste. Josh asked me if I liked it, and I told him I did. He smiled and mentioned that the concert tickets had been my mom's idea, but this clock was something he'd picked out all by himself. That made it feel a little more special. I thanked him again, and he wished me a happy birthday one last time before heading out. By then, I was getting sleepy. I told Amy I was gonna pass out soon. She'd heard Josh enter my room and was dying to know what else he gave me. When I told her it was a clock, she begged me to show her. I said I'd send a pic in the morning, but she wouldn't drop it. So I gave in. Too lazy to get out of bed, I just stretched my arm toward my desk and snapped a quick photo with flash. My study table is right beside my bed, so it wasn't a big deal. But when I took the picture, something caught my eye. My room was pitch dark, no nightlights, no fairy lights. I like total darkness when I sleep. But as I aimed my phone at the clock, I noticed a faint blue light coming from it. The time glowed in soft pink, but there was this distinct little blue glow that didn't seem right. At first, I brushed it off and sent the photo to Amy. I was just about to fall asleep when a memory popped into my head, something I'd seen in a crime show ages ago. I jolted upright, grabbed my phone again, and took another picture using the front-facing camera. That's when I knew for sure. The blue light was still there. There was a hidden camera inside that clock. In case you didn't know, front cameras on phones can sometimes reveal hidden infrared lights, like those in secret cameras. I'm a bit of a true crime junkie, so maybe I picked up that trick from a documentary. But I was certain someone had put a camera in that thing, and it was aimed at me. My stomach dropped. I felt sick. I didn't understand what was going on. Why would Josh give me something like that? The idea that someone could be watching me, even right then, made my skin crawl. The shock wore off just enough for me to act. I jumped out of bed, grabbed the clock, and tossed it into the trash. When I came back, I was shaking, my mind racing. I couldn't make sense of any of it. I called Amy right away. She was half asleep but immediately alarmed when I told her what happened. She was horrified and insisted I call the police. She even said Josh had to be some kind of pervert and warned me he might have planted cameras elsewhere. That thought made me want to throw up. I thought about confronting Josh and my mom right then, but I was too shaken up to move. Amy and I stayed on the phone, digging around online. Eventually, we found the exact clock listed on some sketchy spy gear website alongside other creepy stuff like hidden cameras inside plush toys. That freaked me out even more. I have tons of stuffed animals. Some of them were gifts from my mom and Josh. Suddenly, everything in my room felt suspicious, like the walls had eyes. I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed every stuffed animal I didn't personally buy and tossed them into a trash bag along with the clock. I dragged the whole thing out of my room and dumped it. At that point, I felt physically ill. There was nothing else I could do. I took some melatonin, put on white noise, and tried to force myself to sleep. I figured I'd have to deal with everything in the morning. I don't even remember falling asleep, but I must not have gotten much rest. The next thing I knew, my mom was yelling my name and shaking me awake. I was groggy and had no clue what was going on at first. It took a minute before I realized she was freaking out about that stupid wall clock. Apparently, Josh had found it in the trash while taking it out that morning, and now he was deeply hurt by what I'd done. I sat up, took a deep breath, and told her that if she'd just let me explain, she'd actually be glad I threw that thing out. Instead, she snapped, called me an ungrateful brat, said I didn't deserve any of the effort they put into making my birthday special. Then she told me to go apologize to Josh right then and there. Now, keep in mind, this was barely 7 a.m. I'd barely slept after everything that happened the night before, and her barging in like that just made my mood worse. So I said what I probably should have kept to myself, that Josh was lucky I hadn't called the cops and reported him for being a creepy perv. That set her off. She slapped me. Hard. I was stunned. In all my 18 years, my mom had never laid a hand on me. And now, the first time she does it, it's over him? I wasn't just shocked, I was devastated. I started crying. And yeah, sure, some of it was from the slap, but mostly, it was everything hitting me all at once. I needed her support more than ever, and instead she made it worse. She saw me crying and told me to stop being dramatic, that I should have thought before disrespecting a thoughtful gift and acting like a spoiled brat. That was it. I lost it. I yelled back that she should think twice before blindly defending her husband. She snapped again and told me to watch what I said next. But I was done. I climbed out of bed, grabbed my phone and my car keys, and asked her flat out where Josh had gotten that clock. She thought I was being ungrateful and tried to twist it into me saying the gift was cheap or worthless. She started ranting again, but I cut her off. I told her to save her breath. She was blocking my way, so I pushed past her, ran to my car, and took off. She followed me into the driveway, trying to stop me, but I moved fast enough to get out of there before she could grab me. I drove to a nearby diner and sat there for a while, just trying to get my thoughts straight. I knew I couldn't go back home, not yet. I called Amy, and she told me to come stay at her place. So that's where I went. Later that afternoon, Amy and I decided it was time to show my mom the truth. We found screenshots of that sketchy site where the clock was listed, the exact one Josh had given me. I sent them to her with no extra words. About an hour later, my phone started blowing up. Calls. Texts. Both from my mom and from Josh. I didn't answer any of the calls, I just couldn't, but I read the messages. They were full of apologies. Both of them said they were sorry for how they'd reacted, that they should have let me explain instead of jumping down my throat. They said they wanted to talk, to explain what had happened. But honestly, I didn't care. I didn't see how any of this could be explained away, and I definitely didn't feel safe going back home. So I messaged my mom back, telling her to stop contacting me, I wasn't interested in hearing her out. Then she sent a huge paragraph, insisting that Josh was innocent and would never do something like that. She claimed that the clock wasn't even something Josh had picked out himself, it was bought by his assistant, Peter. Apparently, Josh had wanted to get me something nice on his own, without involving my mom, but instead of putting in any real effort, he just asked Peter to pick something out. Peter's this young guy Josh hired a few months ago, fresh out of college. He's only a few years older than me, and since Josh's dental office is nearby, he sends Peter out to run errands sometimes, picking up lunch, helping out with random things. He's even come over for dinner once or twice, so I've met him. And honestly, he's always given me weird vibes. He's awkward, barely says a word to me, and there's just something off about him. So I wasn't shocked to hear he might be behind the clock situation. My mom said they wanted to press charges against him, but only if I was okay with it. Then she added something that caught me off guard. She said she'd leave Josh if that's what it took, since he was the one who carelessly put me in danger. That surprised me. I know she loves Josh, so hearing her say she'd end things for my sake? That hit different. That's when I finally called her. She sounded heartbroken on the phone. Said she had no idea there was a camera in the clock and that she felt awful for not believing me sooner. She kept apologizing, especially for slapping me, and said she just wanted me to come home so she could say sorry face to face. She said she wanted to fix things between us. I told her I wasn't ready to come back yet, but I did ask her directly, was she absolutely sure that it was Peter, not Josh, who bought that clock? She said she believed Josh. Said she trusted him. I told her I didn't feel comfortable being under the same roof with him, and that's when she told me I mattered more. If I wanted, she'd even separate from Josh. I told her I needed some time to think about everything. Meanwhile, Josh has been calling nonstop. I haven't picked up, but he's sent me text after text, saying he has proof that Peter was the one who bought the clock, and that he had no clue there was a camera inside. He also said that my mom wasn't talking to him right now and begged me to listen to his side of the story. He said he loves my mom and cares about me like a daughter, and he'd never intentionally hurt either of us. So yeah, that's what my day has been like. Amy has been amazing through all of it. She said I can stay here as long as I need to. It's just her and her grandma at their house, and I know her grandma well. She's always been sweet to me. I don't think she'll mind me staying until I figure out what to do next. Apparently, my mom even tried calling Amy too, but she didn't answer. It's not exactly a mystery where I would go in a situation like this. I just really hope my mom doesn't try showing up at her door. Right now, I'm feeling all kinds of torn up inside. Part of me thinks maybe I should hear Josh out. Maybe he really didn't know. Maybe he can prove Peter was the one behind all of this. But then again, just the idea of seeing him again makes my skin crawl. I don't want to be the reason my mom's marriage falls apart if this is all just a big misunderstanding. But I also don't want to put myself in a situation that feels unsafe. Amy keeps telling me I'm doing the right thing and that I need to listen to my gut and only do what feels right for me. I honestly still don't know what to think. My head's all over the place. Update 1: I did not expect this story to blow up the way it did. Apparently, I went Reddit viral overnight. I've been flooded with comments, questions, and messages, so many that I haven't even managed to read half of them. But a lot has happened since my last update, so I figured I'd share the big stuff first before getting back to all of you. The morning after I posted, my mom and Josh actually showed up at Amy's house. I wasn't even that shocked, it felt kind of inevitable. I had already told my mom I didn't want to see Josh yet, and that it would be better if they both just left, but she was emotional. Like, really emotional. I could tell she'd been crying for a while. Even Josh looked like a mess. I started feeling bad for them, so I agreed to hear them out just once. Let me clear things up. Josh wasn't lying when he said Peter picked out the gift. He showed me his phone, and even though there wasn't a specific message where he told Peter to find a gift, there were texts from Peter saying things like, "Found the perfect item," along with a picture of the clock. It looked totally normal, just like it did to me when I first opened it. Josh replied saying he liked it, told him to send it to the office address, and to forward the invoice. It was a basic, professional exchange. Nothing sketchy or out of the ordinary. That's when I started thinking back to all my interactions with Peter. Nothing major stood out, but he always gave off this weird, uncomfortable vibe. I've caught him staring at me a few times. At the time, I brushed it off as awkwardness and even joked about it to Amy. But now, it feels a whole lot creepier. I told Mom and Josh about those moments, and they were livid. Josh kept apologizing again and again. He looked devastated and told me he felt like he failed me. He said he'd never forgive himself for putting me in harm's way. And you know what? I believed him. I wasn't mad at him anymore. I realized it really wasn't his fault, and I almost wrecked their marriage over a total misunderstanding. What's even worse is thinking about what that creep Peter might have seen. The idea that the camera might have been active when I opened the box. It makes my skin crawl. The whole situation is disturbing. After talking everything through, we all agreed that we had to go to the police. We've got enough evidence to protect Josh from being dragged into this, and he said he's ready to do whatever it takes to help me get justice. We're planning to report everything first thing tomorrow morning. For now, the clock is still in the trash. We didn't want to risk pulling it out, just in case it's still transmitting. No sense in tipping Peter off. I'm anxious about all of this, but at least I've got support. I just hope they catch him and make sure he can't hurt anyone else. Some of you messaged me saying I shouldn't trust Josh. That maybe he's just shifting the blame onto Peter now that they've been caught. I get why you'd think that, and honestly, I did consider it for a second. But I trust him. Peter has always been creepy. And let's be real, if Josh was planning something shady, why would he go to Peter of all people? The guy's barely been around a few months. Plus, I've already seen the texts with my own eyes. I checked the timestamps too, there didn't seem to be any deleted messages or weird gaps. Josh even showed me a payment transfer to Peter for the gift. He had no way of knowing where Peter actually bought the clock from. I'm not saying Josh handled it perfectly. He definitely should have picked out my gift himself instead of outsourcing it to someone else. But that's a far cry from being a criminal. And let's be real, if Josh was involved, Peter isn't exactly the type who'd cover for him when the cops come knocking. There's too much proof pointing straight to Peter. So yeah, if somehow Josh was involved, which I seriously doubt, I trust the investigation will bring that to light. Also, some people asked how Peter even knew I'd like a clock like that. Honestly, it wasn't rocket science. Josh said he told him to look for something pink with strawberries if possible. That's pretty on brand for me. I wear pink nearly every day and my room looks like a strawberry-themed explosion. Anyone who's seen me for more than 5 minutes could figure it out. But instead of focusing on that detail, maybe we should all be talking more about the fact that these disgusting products even exist in the first place. So many of you have asked what site the clock came from, but I'd rather not name it publicly. I don't want any legal issues or to draw more attention to it. But if you search for hidden cam clock, it won't take long to find. Update 2: we went ahead and reported Peter to the police and they arrested him. Thank you to everyone who reached out with advice, kind words, and support after my last post. After talking it all through with my mom, Josh, and Amy, I realized I couldn't just sit on this. I was still scared, still shaken up, but I knew I had to speak up not just for myself, but for anyone else Peter might have targeted. Amy made a really good point too. What if he was spying on other girls? Maybe even underage ones. That thought lit a fire under me. I couldn't just stay silent. So, after breakfast and gathering myself a bit, we did it. We made the call. So, I made the decision to contact the police. There was no way I could let this slide, and thankfully, my mom and Josh were with me the entire time. I needed that emotional support more than I even realized. I explained everything to the dispatcher, how I found a hidden camera in the clock, what led up to it, and how I confronted my mom. They took the whole thing very seriously and said they'd send officers over right away to take my statement in person. 2 officers showed up not long after. I was honestly pretty nervous about the whole thing. I wasn't sure how it would go, and part of me worried they wouldn't believe me. But the officer who interviewed me was kind and professional. He just calmly asked me to walk through what happened, what the clock looked like, any other items that felt off, and what interactions I'd had with Peter. There wasn't a ton to say about Peter, I hadn't really spoken to him much, but I gave as much detail as I could. I also mentioned the shady website Amy and I found that sold hidden spy gadgets like the clock. The officer assured me they'd look into everything thoroughly. We handed over the text messages between Josh and Peter, the one showing that Josh had asked him to pick out a gift. The officer said it would help clarify Josh's involvement or lack of it. Then he said they'd need Josh to come down to the station for questioning. Josh didn't hesitate at all. He said he'd do whatever it took to help the investigation and clear things up. My mom looked a little panicked at first, but Josh reassured both of us that everything would be fine and he'd be back before long. Before the officers left, they asked if I felt safe staying in the house. They wanted to know if I had somewhere else I could go or if I felt uncomfortable being around Josh or my mom. I told them I felt safe now and that I trusted both of them. They still reminded me to call right away if anything changed. They also said they needed to do a full search of the house, just to be sure there weren't any other hidden cameras or suspicious devices. They focused on my room for a while, especially the trash bag where I'd thrown the clock and the stuffed animals. Most of those things had been gifts from my mom, and she confirmed that Peter had nothing to do with any of them. The police checked everything thoroughly, but thankfully, didn't find anything else unusual. That was a huge relief. My mom looked visibly calmer once the officers confirmed there were no other concerns. Josh returned home a few hours later after being questioned. I asked how it went, and he told me it was all standard procedure. They'd asked him if he wanted a lawyer, but he declined. He said they might call him in again, but everything seemed fine for now. The officers also said they'd need my mom to come in the next day for some routine questions, and that I'd need to go in too to complete some paperwork. Meanwhile, Peter had been arrested at his home and was now officially under investigation for invasion of privacy and related crimes. I don't know all the legal details, but I'm hoping he confesses or that they find enough proof to lock him up. And I really hope it clears Josh's name for good. That entire day drained the life out of me. I was emotionally exhausted and just wanted all of this to be over already. Luckily, both my mom and Josh were understanding. They gave me space when I needed it and stayed supportive without pushing. We even hired a lawyer, who I was scheduled to meet the next day. I'll try to share updates, but I don't expect anything to happen quickly. I need time to process, to breathe, and to recover. Update 3: 4 months later. Sorry it took so long to write an update, life's been hectic. But I finally have some closure. Peter was found guilty. We pressed charges, and honestly, I was expecting a drawn-out fight, but there wasn't one. He admitted everything. He confessed that he bought the hidden camera clock to spy on me and that Josh didn't know anything about it. The only silver lining is that the police didn't find any evidence that he'd done this before. Still, the whole thing is horrifying. I was a minor when Peter started working for Josh, and apparently, he didn't even bother to clear his search history. Police found that same creepy website on his computer. And it gets worse. They also found out he had fake social media accounts that he used to follow me pretty much all of my profiles. I had no clue. Zero idea that he was lurking on every part of my life. He admitted to having a crush on me from the first time he saw me. Which is absolutely disgusting. Again, I was 17 back then. He's an adult. There's no excuse for that kind of behavior. Thankfully, the police didn't find any signs of him doing anything else while I was still a minor. It was all just obsessively watching from a distance. But the fact that he thought it was okay to spy on me at all, it's sickening. Even though we tried to get the court to charge him with a felony, it ended up being classified as a misdemeanor because he didn't have any prior offenses. He spent a few days in jail before getting bailed out. I won't lie, it's frustrating. It feels like he got off easy. But the one thing that gives me peace is that this will follow him. It's now permanently on his record. So that's where things stand. Since then, I've been trying to focus on school and getting into college. I've also started therapy to help me deal with all the anxiety and trauma this left behind. I'm grateful I had people like Amy, my mom, and even Josh standing by me through it all. I don't know how I would have made it without them. And that's everything, for now, at least.